We're not rolling yet.
No, not really.
Well, we are rolling, but
Oh,
but this will be cut out. I just wanted to
The
not
hot
lie
mic?
to you.
The hot mic?
I just wanted to
Yeah.
not lie right up front.
my bad.
This is beautiful. Awesome. Okay, I'm glad we're here. How do you sound good? You feel okay?
I feel good.
Okay.
Welcome to Disciplined Stoners, the gateway drug to mindfulness. Look deeper.
To think that we started this podcast to fight a stigma, only to uncover so much love that we realized that you can't put your energy anywhere but what you want.
Look deeper.
And what we want is authentic conversation. What we want is quality medicine. What we enjoy is each other.
We get to learn from our guests. Manage the best. I would manifest this.
Part of the magic of the plant is how it uncovers what you've been hiding away.
So much love.
Look deeper. Feel more. Tune in.
So much love. Look deeper.
We're not here to be lazy.
Welcome to Disciplined Stoners,
We're not here to distract ourselves.
the gateway drug to mindfulness.
We're here to learn. We're here to grow.
And welcome back to another episode of Disciplined Stoners. I'm your host, Ellevan.
My name is Winny,
and we are the gateway drug to mindfulness. And today, yo, you've seen his glowing face on our Instagram channel, me and him broing out heavy. He is the CEO of one of our favorite flower brands in Canada, honestly, Woody Nelson. We'll go on about that, but he's just an all-around sweet guy. Please get your joints up for your friend, our man, Walker Patton.
There's no joints yet.
Shit, roll some fire quickly.
You guys are early. I need to, like, when we make appointments with people, I need to be like 4 o'clock, but like 4:15. You know, that's what I should really do.
No,
because
he's on it.
I know you're on it. We're not on it.
Yeah, I know. We're a little bit high. Thanks for being here, bro.
It is my absolute pleasure. Hanging out with the two of you the last time I came to town was a highlight for me.
Man, that was so fun. And
so
like,
fun.
does that happen for you a lot? Because we met up with Matchstick, who is just totally awesome.
Actually,
Kind
if
summer.
Cobb didn't text me your number, I don't know if you'd be here right now. So
Yeah.
shout out Cobb all the way.
Shout out to Cobb.
Love.
Thank you, Cobb.
Yeah,
I would
he's
want
a-
you to be, but
he's
I
such a
was
good
just, I
dude.
couldn't direct. I realized when we left that event the other night, I was like, you have my number, right? And you're like, yeah. I'm like,
No.
I don't think we do. So, love, Cobb. What were you saying, Win? Sorry.
So he was like, "Oh, like I really, the CCO is coming. Yeah, this little
this
noise.
is
Do
out
you
of
hear this little
control.
noise?
Ooh, I thought
Yeah,
that was
no.
just in my head.
Oh, no. You're not
you
insane.
you keep
You're not
the show
psycho.
going. I'll fix this.
Thank you. You're gonna produce.
Thanks.
He emailed me and he put us in an email together, and I don't think that we were going to any like common events, or I don't really know why we couldn't like meet out elsewhere, but I was like, hey, come to our place, which is like not usual, I think, for like a new relationship.
For
at
right
least.
away hang. For
Yeah.
a right away hang.
And then Ellevan was late, and so he came in hot. I don't know if you remember that, but he came
I
in
just
hot
felt,
that
I
day.
was like, fuck. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm fucking late into my own place. I just, fuck.
But then you rolled up with your magnificent weed,
Oh, man.
and we got fucking high and talked for like hours, I feel. Until you had to go, I'm pretty sure.
We smoked an incredible amount of
Or
and
until
for-
I had to go, maybe? I don't remember who left first, but someone left.
I think it was me who left, and it felt like, 4 or 5 hours later.
Yeah, it was wild.
It was a sick hang, bro.
We just got ripped and had the best convo. And now here we are. So thanks for coming back to Toronto.
Not to recreate, but to float on a similar wave. It's always nice to connect with you.
Yeah, and the mindfulness aspect, having those conversations about, the things that other people don't necessarily talk about. Whether it's the mindfulness of,
Can I open some of your weed and roll
Yes,
it?
absolutely.
I feel like it'd be sacrilege to roll up something else.
Well, no, that's exactly why I was keeping it there. Had cracked it myself. Someone else deserves to be the first one to open it. Please go ahead. Let's have a moment. We can roll some
Yeah,
joints.
let's have a moment.
Yeah.
We're gonna need a moment.
We can be mindful. out
Yeah,
there.
but
Yeah,
no,
fuck
we went there.
mindfulness.
We went there. You could go there, and I was really excited, and yeah, I was really excited to learn that. And then when we were in Vancouver, you had like the most banging party, and there's like hilarious company culture that we can talk about.
Okay, let
Oh
me toss that over
my
to me, please.
god!
Holy.
Oh my god!
Is this Ontario license or what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
that's coming out June 6th.
Whoa.
Harry.
Purple God. God Bud. God Bud. God and.
Say it, Win.
God Bud and Purple Skunk.
Ooh, I see the purple. I love the purple.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Often nice
This
on the
is
body.
beautiful. Shall I do a crack test?
Do your thing.
Nice.
That's some
That's
ASMR.
moist. I know. It
Purple
gets
God.
insane. Here's
is really
I'm gonna
nice.
put this back. This is beautiful. It's sticky. It's moist. It smells good.
Sticky and moist.
Sticky and moist. Breaks up nice. I can't wait to smoke it.
Would you like to hear about the mutant plant from our first crop?
I would.
Yes.
Okay. So our first crop, growing Purple God in our system, we weren't able to get the purple quite where we wanted it. There was an opportunity to elevate the nose and the flavor, but there was one plant that was just doing its own thing and went like straight dark purple, had like a sideshow bob haircut with all the leaves coming up and stuff like that.
Yes.
It was, and it was just jamming on its own vibe. We had an opportunity to harvest that along with everything else, set it aside, and I managed to get it out into the marketplace and try it. And I've never had anything that tasted so much like seaweed snacks.
Really?
Yeah,
Seaweed snacks, like the
How
things you get in
random.
the plastic, and
Exactly.
they're so good.
the ones that are so good, but you feel bad because there's so much plastic packaging.
There's a lot in the whole.
They
when
need
you
to
get
make that it's more sustainable.
That's true.
Yeah.
Just give me one package loose leaf leaves, seaweed leaves.
Yeah.
That's cool. So this is that?
No, so this is the new crop. So we took some lessons from the first crop and did it again. And so Ontario fortunately gets our first crop of the one that's really dialed in.
Oh,
So
can I have a little bit more of that, bud?
yeah.
Why?
You know
How
me.
does that happen? Why does Ontario get the first instead
Oh,
of BC?
I get the seaweed thing. Seaweedy.
I don't.
Nori, like
Yes, I know Nori. Yeah,
yeah.
totally.
So when you bust it up. Sorry, what was the question?
Why does Ontario get the first taste rather than BC?
So Ontario doesn't get the first taste, but the first like good taste.
Oh,
Dialed in.
Dialed in taste. Sorry, not good.
Dialed
The
in.
first crop of Purple God was still one of our most beautiful looking flowers, smoke smooth, all that great stuff. We're just really picky because if we're going to call it Purple God, we want the purple to show up.
Yeah.
But the question that you asked opens up something that's a very interesting topic of discussion, and that is the product call process from province to province. So in BC, for us to launch a product, we need to have an NNCP in place. So that kind of documents what the product is, a new Notice of Cannabis product with Health Canada,
what's an NCP?
Notice of New Cannabis Product.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so that's a quick form that you submit to Health Canada, gives them a chance to review, make sure that everything's all kosher there.
Oh,
So
how
it's-
long does that process take?
It's a 60-day review process.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, and this is makes things a little bit tricky for the producers, but also easy to understand the bandwidth of Health Canada on this stuff, because you have every producer submitting at least dozens of these things, sometimes hundreds of these things to Health Canada, but they have a 60-day window where they can respond to you and let you know if they have any challenges. However, it's not an approval process. So while a lot of people kind of understand it and treat it as an approval process, like, yep, we submitted our NNCP, 60 days passed, that means that it's approved. It's not necessarily approved, which is a bit of a weird space to put someone in.
Yeah.
We ran into a situation with our Sunset Overdrive. We did a contest, a poll. We did a poll on Reddit asking for some help renaming one of our genetics.
Dope.
It was our SSOG, so Sunset Sherbet crossed with High Octane OG, which is a bit of a mouthful. And the Reddit community came up with the name Sunset Overdrive, which we thought was super cool. It was something that was like, high powered, really gets you kind of cultivar. So anyway,
Are you consistent on Reddit? You guys?
It's a good place to source from the cannabis
It
community.
is, yeah.
Reddit is is something.
It's quite something.
Yeah, so I've been on Reddit for quite a few years, and I understood that Reddit had become a community, an online community, perhaps the only online community for cannabis, because cannabis was being shut down on the other platforms. And on the other platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, a lot of the content that you see is algorithm driven. And that algorithm isn't necessarily based on the content that you want to see, but the content that you're going to be most addicted to, or that kind of stuff. And with Reddit, there's much more of a community vibe. And because it was one of the only online communities for cannabis, you actually saw a lot of the people, whether you're posting reviews, asking questions, all that kind of stuff was showing up in the OCS subreddit and the BCCS subreddit.
Right.
And we thought that this was a place that we could participate. But at the same time, it's not as easy as just showing up, because we had seen other producers and brands try and do that and struggle with it. And one of the things that I think I understood that perhaps other brands didn't is that Reddit has a bit of an immune system built in. And there's people who will pay attention to what you're doing, so what you say, how you comment, what you post about. They'll look through your profile history, and they will determine whether or not you are doing things authentically. And
They searching for bots?
They search for bots. They search for shills. And this is, I think,
Bots and shills.
at times that kind of immune system can be overactive, and people can kind of pile on, and maybe in a not so fair manner.
Right.
But I'd say more often than not, this is the mechanism that protects Reddit from a lot of the kind of inauthentic kind of astroturfing behavior that you see from a lot of brands these days. They're like, oh, we need some community development. We'll just pay a bunch of bot farmers to flood the community with positive comments about us, and you can't do that with Reddit.
Nice.
Reddit will figure that out real quick, and then any kind of positive branding that you thought you might have been able to do is just going to be consequences. And
we actually at the retail store that I worked at,
You can see it.
we trial and errored a few things, and they caught it immediately. They were like, "This bullshit. This is an ad. Fuck you!" Like, it did not work in our favor for sure.
It's interesting because this is me just pulling numbers out of thin air, but I'd say that 80% of the time they're probably right.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people who get kind of lumped in with that, but you know what?
I love the translated comments that are clearly written in another language, and then they're like, "Good content, this yes." You'll see when someone buys
YouTube?
or Instagram or whatever, you'll see the bot comments are just started in Indian. I'm just sorry. That's that's a lot of the bot farms are not in this country. They're in another country or Thailand or something.
Yeah.
And because whatever, $10 translates. You
Yeah.
can do a lot more. But it's good that you go at it authentically.
I took you off the tangent though.
Sorry.
We were on a story towards something.
We were talking about the
you
weed.
had posted about Reddit, and then
That's all good.
I interrupted you.
I have plenty more Reddit discussion in the bank if you want to go there too.
So you use Reddit as, you're operating Woody Nelson. You're basically front-facing the marketing, what the brand is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting because you have a lot of fans of the flower. So it's you don't grow. You're basically everything else.
Well, we do grow.
No. You guys grow, but Walker isn't trimming. You're not trimming. So it's but you handle everything else, which is so good. I just want to give you an imprint, and then I want to hear further how you build it on the back end. First time I heard about Woody Nelson, Sam from Sticky Nugs, I got some fire coming in. Their bud tender, Dustin, who's been on the show, who's a OG California guy. He hits us up on DM immediately as soon as it gets there. He's like, buddy, you gotta come immediately. We got 2 left. This
Rainbow
shit
Driver
sticks to the fucking wall. So that is
And it
such.
did. He took it out and he stuck it to the wall.
And to the wall, and it did, and it was the drop. I was fuck, that's impressive. So with this fire ass, flower that's coming out, you represent BC. It's that's a big task. You are hands down amongst the general opinion of cannabis consumers and like bud tenders specifically, who we talk about, who are our favorites. you're up there. You're in the premiums. Like, you're in top 5, like, across the board. And that comes with, like, a responsibility to, like, show up as a brand almost, right? But then also it doesn't. Like, I really love how you guys haven't just like jerked graphics into our face as an audience. I'm gonna give some flowers to the flowers now, and then like also want to hear further about how you're leveraging avenues like Reddit and stuff to kind of navigate and where to place the brand and how to represent. But yeah, the flower blew the mind, and then the name is a mix, right, from the culture. Did you have a part in the name? Tell us about the name.
I did have a part in the name. This was, I think, the original team, founder plus a few of the OG employees. Coming together, we knew that we were going to be an LP. We needed a brand and wanted that brand to represent Nelson, which is where we're based and where we're from.
Shout out BC.
Yeah, shout out to BC, shout out to Nelson.
So pretty.
And so nice. If anybody hasn't seen what Nelson looks like, just still do a Google image search for Nelson and enjoy. It's scenic. So Woody Nelson was our attempt to kind of incorporate the word Nelson into the name and really have that being part of the brand identity. Of course, Woody Harrelson and Willie Nelson, both champions of cannabis and people who, from a distance we admire. And, of course, our name officially has nothing to do with either of them, and that was never part of the actually what happened, and et cetera, et cetera.
But they're cultural strokes. It's a broad, and it catches, like, I'm going to let another gem out the bag right here as far as marketing. If you want to target ad people, like Meta has allowed me as a third party to like promote my freestyles about cannabis brands, how are you going to geo-target or taste target? Bob Marley, Woody. Now, you're cultural stroking. These are targets. These are like general frequencies, which is brilliant and great. And the color that goes along with it.
For us, like it's one of those things that just worked on so many levels, and we had a lot of other names in mind, and this was just one that became a bit of an internal joke.
Did you guys get high and then work the name?
Oh yeah.
You mean they stayed high?
Oh, we also worked with a really cool brand person, brand professional.
Nice.
Rob McDonald, Banter, Grace, and Lollipop. He's done some great work with a bunch of other brands, and helped kind of bring us together and discuss the values that we had and what we wanted the brand to represent and all that kind of stuff. And there were a lot of cool ideas. A lot of them turned out to be non-compliant because the regulations are a big part of this.
Yeah.
But Woody Nelson was just one of those things where like we kept saying it, we kept laughing about it. We're from Nelson, we're surrounded by trees.
Yeah.
This is it, and
It's a
never looked
perfect
back.
name. How long have you been on market? How long have you been selling flower for in Canada?
The legal market.
It's a good question. We had our first crop towards the end of, not last year, but the year before, and the intention was to go to market in December, right before Christmas. We had PO from the LDB, and we're all ready to rock and roll. But we had a mishap in the grow room, and we had to hold back. And
No.
yeah, and like fortunately, it wasn't actually a big deal. It was more of just needing to send in for another round of tests and making sure that everything was okay. But as our first crop, it was a big deal. We weren't quite sure what was happening. We were new to testing, new to understanding the lab results. Not like lab results in general, but just for what we were doing in that specific moment. And
Your first run in like a brand new industry?
Well, it's just there's so many things that we're learning for the first time here, and fortunately we did all the checks, we did all the balances, we found what we needed to find in order to have confidence in bringing that crop to market, and it showed up a couple months later, and folks were ecstatic. The Rainbow Driver really kind of made a name for us.
Yeah.
Fantastic flavor, fantastic nose.
It was like a Pokemon when it was out. When you talk to the bud tenders about it, they'd be like, "Oh, that is gone."
Did you get it?
Yeah, exactly. Did you get it? Did you get that rare one? It was a rare Pokemon. So good.
And then the Glade Runner actually, like a lot of people after Rainbow Driver dropped, they were like, "Oh, Glade Runner's better." Like they were.
Glade Runner.
I personally liked Rainbow better, but
Yeah, but that's good if you can have a follow-up hit.
yeah.
Like you want people to be talking about that, like not like, "Oh, that first run was way better."
Glade Runner was an interesting one. The first couple crops of Glade Runner were not our best, and this is, I think, going to be a consistent theme where the first time you bring a genetic into a system, especially one that was a new system for us. It's going to take a little bit of time to dial it in and get the most out of it. And it wasn't until later last year, towards the end of the summer, that we really got Glade Runner dialed in, and the nose on it was fantastic. It was when we had I think I brought some of these, like big old buds, like smell of like apple and cookies. And anyway, it's Cobb's favorite. Shout out to Matchstick.
Shout out Matchstick, man.
That's just what this episode will be called. Shout out to Matchstick.
He's so funny.
With Walker. When do you remember your first time smoking weed?
I do.
When was it?
Can you share it?
I can. I went to a high school where there was a lot of weed consumption, and I had a lot of pressure on me to go to post-secondary. So
In BC?
yeah. And it was one of those things where, like, all right, well, most of my friends who are smoking weed are definitely not going to university. Maybe I'll try and save that for later. And so it was like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I graduated, it'd be like, all right, got that one in the bank, time to get
What
high.
a responsible fella.
Wow.
Good for you.
Thank you.
That's
Just saying no to those high school peer pressures.
The disciplined stoner right there.
Wow.
I think also at the time I was one of those like kids who got a lot of satisfaction out of being the one who said no.
Yeah.
And that was enough. But I clearly got off that high horse. And
Yeah. So then it was 3 weeks after graduating?
I think so. It was really shortly after, and I was at a beach with some friends, and they had a pipe, and they were like, "Do you want to smoke some weed?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do."
Yeah, I do.
And was that life changing for you?
Really do. Yeah, love at first sight.
I don't think so. It was nice. It was like a new experience. It was more like an exploration of like, whoa, okay, this is going on. Let me take account of what's happening right now. But it was something that I enjoyed. And for me, it was a very social activity because all my friends smoked weed. It was something that and I think I went 3-4 years without ever smoking by myself because it was just, I got some weed. I'm going to call someone up and we're going to go smoke. And there was even times
Which is great.
But also times where I felt self-conscious about it, where I would have weed and I'd want to smoke, but if I couldn't find someone else, then I'd be like, I guess I'm not smoking weed.
Aw.
Yeah.
Because you felt like guilty to do it by yourself because you felt like an addict or something?
That was part of it.
I went through that. I understand that. Winnie used to judge me a little bit for smoking weed in the beginning.
I was under stigma hard for the first 25 years of my life.
She thought I was partying day in, day out. And I was like, no, this is managing outbursts.
Yeah.
I was in a relationship once where the other person felt that cannabis was very unclassy, as they put it. And this is a wonderful woman who is like...
Was she your age?
A couple years older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. That adds up.
And it was funny because I was working in this portfolio manager type position at RBC, Dominion Securities and stuff like that. I was like, can I be classy during the day and be myself during the rest of the time?
Yeah, totally.
But I remember not a low point by any means, but a somewhat embarrassing, but okay, I'm not going to do that again. I spent 3-4 days where I really wanted to smoke weed to help sleep, and I'm awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I end up taking some weed and busting it up and putting it inside I think I took a carrot and turned it into a pipe and smoked that under the hood vent.
I love that.
Carrot pipe is actually really impressive.
That's
That feels like it would be challenging.
You'd have to whittle down with. I could just picture you right now, a scene, you're got a chopstick in the center of it.
No, I probably took a good 10 minutes, doing it nice and easy and
That's beautiful. Nature in nature, man.
But what's really funny is that that particular person, they were going through a bunch of chronic pain issues, and were kind of at their wits' end one day when my friend and I happened to be back from a local dispensary, and she said, would you please bring me some weed? And blew us away because we were very aware of how she felt about these things.
Where you're it's so unclassy if you'd ask.
No. We can't act like that.
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We must embrace them. They're very afraid.
I know, I'm having fun.
Even me now, my mom, I was on the phone with my mom the other day, FaceTime, and she was like, "Are you high?" And I was high, and I couldn't tell her. I couldn't be honest with her because I felt the judgment coming off of her so hard. So I opened my eyeballs and I was like, "No." And then we continued our conversation and it was fine, but I was like, that was fucked up that I just lied about that. If
you would have been yeah, and then just moved on, she would have been okay, it's She's normal. Just the fact that she believed that you weren't high is enough to be like, you don't even know. You don't know the difference.
No, she doesn't. Besides the
So
I
don't
got to be
admit it.
aware of my eyeballs.
Dude, you got to use the poker tool.
I have this little light poker tool. She was handing me one too. What?
That's
this
a nice
is.
poker tool.
It's a,
Oh, this is your guys' poker tool.
yeah.
Poker.
Poker tool.
Poker tool.
Boy, I got a real Canadian there. Your poker tool. Okay, yeah, there's some weight to that one, eh? I use the stick. It's very light. It's very light. But yeah, look, let's see if we do it with this poker.
So you got a little bit more surface area if you're going to pack it down. You can pack the top, pack the bottom.
That's a shiny
So-
stick.
Why were you interested in getting into the weed industry?
So you're a stoner from BC.
I mean, not a crazy stoner, it seems like. Not like you weren't every day. If you might still not be every day. I don't know what your smoking habits are. I'm not
Are
a
you?
fly on your wall.
Are you smoke every day?
Smoke about an ounce a week.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, he smokes a good amount.
That's great. I'm really glad to hear that.
Yeah, member our sesh? It's like he never back down.
I mean, that's true. You didn't ever back down, but a
But
lot
what brought
of
you
people.
to weed? Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought you to weed?
why'd
to
you
think
wanna
it as
get
a
into it?
business?
So I was working at
RBC?
At RBC, yeah. And
Managing that portfolio.
Can we pause this for just 1 second?
yeah, of course.
This tastes really fucking good.
Holy fuck, I know.
What am I? Is this farnesene? What terpenes am I? Is my?
Good guess. Maybe sweeter than that.
Would you like me to read the description?
Yes.
I would. Oh yeah, you guys were one of the first with a cutesy little description thing too. I remember talking about that in an episode.
Yeah, you guys
being
are
like, oh,
showing
that's a
up.
way to like make it.
Packaging is something that means a lot to us, and we're
Yeah.
constantly thinking of ways to kind of push that envelope and better connect the customers to the information they're looking for.
And this is
appreciate
new
that.
packaging.
So
Is
this
it?
is we started off with green jars. I don't think the green jars ever made it to Ontario.
No.
But that supply chain, like the supply chain in cannabis, is
I
really
got
difficult.
I've seen the green jars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe there was like one drop of green jars in Ontario. Then we switched to black jars because the green jar supplier was not easy to work with. And then the
What a
black,
problem to have.
like
My
the-
green jar supplier isn't easy to work with. Are you kidding me?
It's probably once a week we find out that one of our suppliers is just not able to deliver what they said when they said they would do it.
Fucking, who are these guys?
Well, some of them are larger suppliers, but a lot of them are new suppliers who are kind of jumping into the industry and trying to serve this niche, but with either a lack of experience or just a somewhat unstable supply chain. It's tough. And normally you would be able to manage this by just having more inventory on site, but inventory costs money, and the cannabis industry doesn't have a lot of money, so a lot of them find themselves trying to run a just-in-time inventory system with an unstable supply chain, and so through that, you'll see a lot of things show up in market that don't quite look right.
Yeah.
And like we have our so we
This
have
is
these
great,
bags.
though. I like these
I
bags.
like these bags,
This
too.
This
Thank you.
fucking goes like a little lunch bag. Don't before you leave. Don't forget your weed.
We really like that as well, and it stands out on the shelf and all that stuff. But this was the result of our attempt to find a way to get the benefits of a jar without the downsides. Because the jar not only costs a lot more, like your average jar, unless you're doing large volumes or have a great supplier, will run you at least $1, maybe a little bit more.
And we're throwing that out.
And so a lot of people
Or
are throwing
trying
it
to
out.
recycle it.
And originally, I was under the impression that this was the most recyclable option. But painted glass is not as recyclable as most people would assume. And you also have the lid, which is plastic, et cetera. And for us, the big thing that kind of stuck in my mind was when somebody told me that there's more plastic in a jar, the lid of a jar, than there is in one of these pouches.
There you go.
I'm like, okay, that thing's worth paying attention to. And then when you consider the carbon footprint for shipping from overseas or wherever it is, the jar weighs more than 10 times what the pouch weighs.
Right.
And so when you kind of stack up all these like pros and cons, it made more sense to go to the pouch, but we didn't want to go to a pouch if it meant that we couldn't protect the hand trim and the bud structure.
Sure.
Because a lot of pouches, you'll see your buds come out squished.
Yep.
So yeah, we ended up with just the standard design that you'll see in coffee bags with a side gusset. And it's just one of those things where this wasn't available in the cannabis supply chain for regulated products. And we did the work to make it available. And now we get to have something that's a little bit unique and kind of gets you the best of both.
Bravo.
Fucking sexy description, bro.
Product description?
Yes.
'Kay.
It's time.
The Woody Nelson edition of the Purple God genetic was bred in the Kootenay region and grown at an indoor vertical farm using organic living soil. This indica dominant cultivar is rich in terpenes, including limonene, myrcene, farnesene, with subtle notes of zest and umami.
Ooh, I do like the subtle notes of zest and umami.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good description.
Yeah. I think the latest description, because like these things do change from crop to crop, but we also try and base it on feedback from our consumers, bud tenders and whatnot. So I think the latest description on this is Nori and Kush.
Nori and Kush.
Nori representing the seaweed snack notes.
Yeah.
Smell the bag and then think about the seaweed snack.
No, I can taste it.
But the bag, you
Okay.
really smell it.
Okay, fine.
It's like roasted. How did they get
You
the
know me and smelling bags.
I know. Hold on, there's a sex joke here. Anyway, nuts, bags, testicles. What? That's dope, man. Hey, what's your favorite stoner movie of all time?
That's a really good question.
Oh, yeah.
I got a really soft spot in my heart for Pineapple Express.
Yes! That's like our template movie. Like, we will make a movie one day. That's like our template movie.
Yeah.
Just less violence.
We literally like do scenes from it sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
I'm
Ha-
Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
I'm James. Half-baked?
Half baked, like a young Dave Chappelle.
So good.
Dude.
Yeah.
The
The
best.
best.
And he was facing stigma. His girl didn't want him to,
I didn't know that.
in the movie.
Oh, sorry, in the movie.
He's
yeah.
hiding it. He used to be like a cartoon, basically. He's like animated. Jim Carrey was like that too.
We were watching some
Yeah.
Chappelle show a couple nights ago.
Like one of the best shows.
The racial
ever.
draft.
Oh, man.
So good. Who got who again? We got Tiger Woods. Is Eminem mentioned?
Yeah, I think the black delegation asked for Eminem, but then the white delegation is like, whoa, pump your brakes. Then the Asian delegation comes out of nowhere and takes Wu-Tang Clan.
Because the name, that's so good.
Yeah.
And then also just like the milkman. I can't say the name of the skit. I won't say the name of the skit, but it's really funny if you know the show. The milkman delivering to the family with a unique last name. That's so funny. Rick James.
With the unique.
You know who's good? Key and Peele too.
Yeah,
They did.
extremely talented.
And are they? You ever see when they do the football draft? It's like I'm you Compton Monathan. Like, they're just like improving, and they just put on costumes, and you can just tell they're like improving ridiculous names, and then like later.
Dave Chappelle actually calls them out for
Yeah.
like taking
I had
his
to watch.
spot
He
on
said I had
Comedy
to watch
Central.
Key and Peele do my show for
Yeah.
10 years.
Which is a good
It's fucking true.
joke.
It's
Yeah.
as far as the world general consumption of content went. That was the show. It was like Chris Rock and the Dave Chappelle, and like then, yeah, we went into Key and Peele. They're fucking good though, eh? Holy Jordan Peele now with his directing and producing.
insane.
And see, like someone with that versatility of talent, where like you seeing them doing the silly skits like that at the SNL kind of work, but to go from that to like award-winning horror and like
Brilliant.
cultural and cult classics.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still so young. I'm excited
Still
to
so
see
young.
what his career looks like.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm looking forward to like the 60-year-old like old school OG Jordan Peele that like.
Or the next level, the Clint Eastwood version.
Oh yeah.
Where he's just
He's
pissed
90.
off the old curmudgeon.
I can see that.
Completely uncensored. I'd love to see
That's
that.
a good version of him for sure.
We'll have to let him mature. We don't want to rush that.
I want to really quickly. We've lost directions, and that's totally fine because that's what
I
happens.
mean,
on
we're
a weed
chilling,
podcast.
hanging, smoking weed. What do you want?
Well, I want
Hanging
to
out with
talk
friends.
about the state of the art facility a little bit.
Yeah, gush about
'Cause-
where this plant comes from.
Yeah, that was really neat.
So y'all need to come by for a tour.
I know.
Yes. Next BC trip. Yes.
And I did earlier pitch coming by for the Unicorn Cup. Shout out to Che and Rosebud. So
Yeah.
if you would like to join us at like, it sounds like we're gonna have like our own camping area. Not
Nice.
for just Woody Nelson, but the Kootenay growers. And there will be a Woody Nelson camp. And if you want to hang out at the Woody Nelson camp, you're invited.
Thank you.
Sick. It's always nice to have a home team like that. That's where I felt like I was in Vancouver when we were at Kind. It's like that party we were holding it down.
That's
It's
in
nice to roll with
August,
the Woody
right?
Nelson.
Yeah.
That's the August.
August
yeah.
10th around there.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll have to let you know.
Sweet. So high tech facility.
Yes.
in Nelson.
Yeah, where does this fire come from? Are you just finding it in the woods in BC?
No, it's
It doesn't just come like that?
it's a combination of a whole bunch of things kind of coming together. One, you start with incredible genetics. So we have a grow team and an extended family that have given us some of the best genetics to work with. Like the Rainbow Driver, the story behind Rainbow Driver, with it being a very unlikely seed to fall into our possession, and for that to be the cut that everyone's sharing so much love around, that's pretty special. But so we have some incredible genetics. Then we have this incredible system that was designed, Jolien and Frank, and we have so many people who work really hard on kind of building the tech and the schematics, the blueprints for this thing, and then the construction. The construction was an adventure. We built this thing through the pandemic when like lumber prices were going through the roof, and so there were
Just makes your butthole tight, you know.
and to run the whole thing is, I think, one of our most important parts of the secret sauce is the talent. We not only have amazing head growers, but the people who work on the processing team, whether it's harvesting or trimming or packaging the product, these are folks who have been doing this for sometimes decades, sometimes multi-generational. We have second-generation growers, we have second-generation processors. And so having all that kind of experience and pride in your work, I do think that's something that sets us apart. There's a lot of companies who show up here or brands that will show up and say like, this is just another consumer packaged goods industry. A widget's a widget, and we're going to pack up your weed and you're going to buy it. They're learning that it's not so easy, and that caring about the details is actually something that really sets you apart here. So
don't you love that when they understand that you've done the quality work? I feel the same about
It
content.
really feels like you guys have a tight-knit team.
Yeah, well-oiled
Like
system.
a trusting kind of loving family.
I think that's fair. For those who are in the cannabis industry and have been here for a while, it's not for the faint of heart.
Double fisting. Give me the other one.
I'll finish this one.
All right.
It's really tough, and there are casualties, and there are bumps and bruises and wounds and blood, sweat, and tears. And
R.I.P. man.
Yeah, a lot of folks have taken that last, wow. It's still so young, and you've seen so much come and go.
But when you can kind of go through that with a group and continue to find success and continue to support one another, and I think one of the most important things that we do is that there's no animosity internally. Like there is just trying to understand and support one another. We understand that if somebody misses a call or doesn't hit a deadline or something, like they were absolutely doing the best they could with what they had, and if anything, that's an opportunity or that's a call for you to support them more.
So you're nice on them when you walk them out of the building after firing them?
No,
I don't understand. How do you get progress?
no, it's just
Kidding. That's awesome.
People who care.
People go with the heart. Y'all are chilling with the heart.
I've been in so many other work environments, so many different kinds of teams, and this is something that really stood out as being unique. This isn't something I'd been a part of before. Like usually when I screw something up, I expect someone to come down on me and say like, here are the consequences because you fucked up.
Yeah.
And here it's never been like that. And I almost feel like I've been in abusive relationships my whole life because I'm like,
That's why I don't do jobs. Could never do jobs because it's like, fuck you.
It's like, oh, my boss is calling. Shit, what did I screw up?
Your anxiety goes right up through your penis to your stomach and your chin, and you're like, get out of here, person. I'll beat you up.
But instead, what he's calling me about is like, hey, what do you think of like the new batch of whatever?
And he loves you.
Yeah, like we get along super well. Easily the best boss I've ever had.
Who is this?
His name's Nate.
Nate. And he's
Shout out Nate.
Shout out to Nate.
CEO of Woody Nelson?
We don't really have a CEO of
Or
Woody Nelson.
founder?
One of the founders,
Dope.
and definitely our fearless leader. He's
That's rad. And he just cares about the weed. He just wants you to be tuned into enjoyment.
He cares about a lot of things. One of the
Nice.
I don't know if he's ever been direct with me about this, but this is me reading between the lines. I think one of the most important reasons why he's done this is bringing industry and opportunity and commercial success back to his hometown.
I love that. And I mean, as far as weed talent goes, you have California, BC,
Yeah.
Amsterdam, Colorado,
Yeah, there's not very many
And
places.
what's the other one?
Jamaica?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're growing that.
I don't think Jamaica has
hot shit.
No, I think it's a Latin country, isn't it? Isn't there somewhere where there's well-developed weed? Spain? Because isn't Spanibus?
Cannabis.
Isn't that
Yeah,
heat?
My understanding is that
Is there no infrastructure there?
if I'm not mistaken, like there is infrastructure. Portugal has legalization.
Yeah, Portugal. Is
how-
it fire though?
Well, what people have been telling me recently is that Europe is still big into hash. So I think a lot of that, perhaps Northern Africa, like Egypt and
Hash.
Spain. I think
Easier
there's
to
a lot of hash.
transport, doesn't go bad as fast as weed does, takes care of a lot of the plant matter. I think smoking's cool. I like to smoke, but it's not a necessary part of the process to have the plant matter. But I do have a hunch that the temperature it keeps the cherry at is sacred. That's my feeling. It's just a feeling fact. It's not a fact. It's a feeling fact. I'm like, when I burn a joint, there's something amazing about the temperature of that coal, or I guess whatever you would call a cherry. And I think it affects the terps and the expression of the chemicals to your brain and to your bloodstream through like a divine ratio of heat measurement. And hey, I mean, I'm sure hash burns at a similar heat, but it's like condensed. Whereas I like the bit of room in the flower. What's your thoughts on this whole terpene THC marketplace adjustment? You guys are doing tremendous work in the space without even hammering.
Are you thinking like with the labs now putting out lower test results?
Oh, is that so? I didn't know. I just mean like in general, like when the cannabis industry happened, there's the constant conversation of, hopefully coming of awareness now that people have been THC shopping.
Yep.
Because the market positioned them, because it basically copy-pasted the template from alcohol,
Yeah.
like just as a market. So it's like now we're coming around, I feel a little bit more as cannabis consumers to look for terps, and I don't think we know why yet.
90% of the time we still walk into retail stores though.
And they blast us about THC.
If we ask for like a recommendation, they'll give us their
this
reco.
one's 38%
but
THC.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be 42 next month, and it keeps, and
Yeah.
soon to be like, this is 100% THC flower. And it's
But
like,
it's not even.
That's not how plants work.
yeah, and we shouldn't be fucking trying to boost their shit to go one way. Like, we should holistically harvest this thing, which...
It's also though usually the recommendation is like highest THC, lowest price,
And I'm
which
like,
is like
no.
not that doesn't
Premium.
no one's winning from that,
And it's-
except I guess that brand.
You can see him take a breath too, and I'm like, premium only, and they're like, oh, nice. Well, Woody Nelson, Black Market, or Simply Bear. Sorry, what?
When you're dealing with a price-sensitive consumer, they are trying to look for deals. They're trying to find value. And when they look up on the menu, they see the name, they see the potency, they see the price. So they're dealing with 2-3 variables. And the quick kind of calculation is, all right, what's the highest THC for the lowest price? That is the deal. Unfortunately, that's such a commonly used tactic that as a result, we now have labs that have either developed methodologies or perhaps kept methodologies that yield higher THC test results.
Yeah.
And this means that a product which might be considered mediocre, or mids as the kids will say, is now something that is highly marketable. And for the uneducated consumer who thinks they're getting a good deal, they're like, sweet, I just got this like 35% THC
Yeah.
eighth for $30 or whatever, and I got a great deal. Meanwhile, if that same product was tested at 5 different labs, you'd probably find out that the 35% result was an outlier.
Yeah.
And also, it's just going to give you a headache.
Well,
Like, just
I
like
mean, that's
cheap
not-
weed's just going to give you a headache. There's no way around it. And then people are going to be like, weed gives me a headache.
It's kind
And
of like a blanket statement.
Nope.
But sure.
If you can get some good weed for the low, don't be prejudiced about getting it for the low if it's good weed. But most times you do get what you pay for.
Like with the amount I smoke, I'm definitely shopping for deals. I smoke a lot of Homestead. I have found that going from LSO,
Simply Bear.
yeah, I
where we
found
come.
that going from LSO to something that's not LSO, I can tell the difference.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
not
I
as
agree.
smooth. Assuming that it was grown well and the genetics great, there's sometimes less flavor, less complexity in the flavor profile, and just things that I've had personally noticed. So I do still shop for deals, but I try and still kind of recognize the quality within that. And
That's amazing. Thank you for admitting that and sharing that.
of course, and I've never shopped for THC. The only time I have, and this is actually kind of funny, I'm realizing this the first time, every time that I bought something for THC, it's because I saw an outlier. I was like, oh, wow, that's 31% THC. This is in like year 2, year 3 of legalization.
So yeah.
I'm like, let's see what that's all about.
Subway scientist?
I think that was like a Gaelic fire or something, and
Oh yeah, that was East Coast.
yeah, and I just, it wasn't impressive, and nothing about that made me feel like it was 30%. And then I remember seeing the root beer float up around 35%, and I tried that, and it's like, this does
That
not.
product sucked.
It's
I
like-
was pissed.
Well, especially when it says craft, and
Yes, especially then. You're absolutely right. There was no flavor to it. It was just like the high you'd get was like Jamaican cess high. Like it'd just be like fucking this is you now for like the next 2 hours, you know? I was pissed at that product and it didn't taste like root beer at all.
And like I'm sure that the folks there are nice and kind of doing great work in some areas, but for me, just
Yeah, no shots, but like
I
you got to
haven't-
be honest.
the potency
I haven't
pieces.
smoked it also in years, so I mean I can't
but
comment
that's-
on their new
But
shit.
thank you guys, and scene. That's what we were talking about with the whole THC affecting the marketplace.
Yeah.
Case in point, there's
Yeah.
many options to choose from of who executed it, and at the end of the day, get your money, do your thing. It probably is going to be the largest portion of the market, but it's like I really do appreciate the premium cultivation and the focus on that, understanding that a smoker like me will only have to smoke half of one of your joints as opposed to one of those. I mean, I just get cracked out on a Subway Scientist anyway, like too much THC. I'm like, relax, bro. Like, that's insane. Like, so we want people to understand that. Sorry, what were we going to say?
I was going to throw an unexpected shout out to the OCS.
Okay, go.
So the OCS has implemented something where they basically said, we're going to send some of your product that you send to us to another lab, another third-party lab.
Oh, cool.
And we're going to get your stuff tested. And if your stuff tests within a certain range of what your label says, then we're all good. Don't worry about it. But if your label says that it's like 47% THC and we test it and it's like 25, well, you got to take it back. And it's a little bit more nuanced than that. But it's something that the OCS announced earlier this year, and when I saw that, I was blown away, because this is something that you could argue would be
That's
Health
dope.
Canada's responsibility or someone else's responsibility. So for the OCS to step up and say, like, you know what, we've been hearing about this issue from the consumers, we've been hearing about this issue from the retailers, we're in a position to do something about it, so we will. And
Wow.
one of the things that's I'm sure that they've done some of these tests and whatnot, but I think that even without having kind of engaged the program, that in and of itself was a powerful message to the laboratory community, because now they're hearing, if our lab tests don't align with what their lab tests are, our customers are going to have their product returned and it's going to be our fault.
Yeah.
And so now you have a bunch of labs who are thinking to themselves, we can keep producing these inflated lab numbers, or we can align our specs with that third-party lab over there to ensure that our clients don't have rejected product. So now they have a very concrete business interest to produce more, perhaps reasonable results. And ultimately what we need is standardization of methodology. We need all the labs testing in a similar way,
Yeah.
because if one lab's testing with like
For sure.
high moisture and one lab's testing with low moisture, well, that makes like a very real difference to the THC value that's printed on the bag at the end of the day. And so the OCS has, done something that I really commend them for. And I
That's
think
dope.
And I think that that's probably one of the reasons why, at least I have seen some of these more inflated test results on the bags start to get lower and lower. I think it's because the labs are probably adapting their methodology.
Well, that's great, because then that's just kind of the first step to getting consumers off of this lie, because they've bought in. Like, the reason why bud tenders say that is because consumers, I was a bud tender for 2 years, I know, they come in and you are stoked as a bud tender. You're like, let me tell you what's good. And they're like, nah, give me the highest. They told us what they wanted, and that's why the industry reacted the way that it did, right?
It was very cute to be standing in a position of legal weed and see people come from like used to like talking to their dealer named Murphy in like a 96 Civic, you know, and then they were coming in like, let me tell you what I know. The active component of this plant is THC.
Yeah.
Delta 9.
And I'm like, oh, wow. Good for you. And did you make it all the way to the other one? CBD? And they're like, what are you talking about? And yeah, it was pretty funny. It's been neat to watch the face of cannabis grow. I vote cannabis on airplanes by 2030.
Damn.
Only certain airplanes. We used to be able to
option-
smoke cigarettes on them. We should be able to smoke weed on the ones that everyone agrees that you can do that.
Drop down mask, the weed comes in.
Oh yeah, that's sick.
I definitely don't think we implementing
Vapes and
smoking on
edibles.
planes is
Vapes
going
and
to be
edibles.
crazy, but you should be able to get drinks at least.
At least edibles.
If you can get alcohol beverages, you should absolutely be able to get a 10 milli bev on
like,
a plane.
if we're bringing back, 1970s smoking on the airplane rules, like, I think there might be some
I'm
people a little
down.
bit upset.
I'm down. I think
That's a charter situation.
if I ever own a plane, I'm doing that.
All right.
Like Hondo.
We could do like a timeshare on a plane.
Okay, deal. We're all making a promise that whichever one of us gets a PJ first,
Yeah, we're
we're
gonna
inviting the
blaze it
others,
out.
and we can all blaze on the plane.
Yeah.
Deal. You heard it here. So sick.
From
Weed
the
everywhere.
brief time that we've spent together, I get from your demeanor that you you're a really good listener, and that you take time to create thoughtful responses. It seems that you're very passionate about what you do, but it also seems that you're passionate about like well-being in general and your own well-being.
You're a fucking sweetheart.
Yeah. Do you have any mindful practices that you implement on a daily basis? Is that do you feel that's a correct analysis? You seem like quite a calm, grounded person.
I think the weed helps with that.
Nice.
Okay, that's cool to know. Without the weed, is that do you want some more of this?
Sure.
See, he smokes a bunch. Especially with this.
I think that part of that is a personality comes after my dad. Shout out to my dad,
Shout out. What's your dad's name?
Rick.
Shout out
Shout
Rick.
out, Rick.
And, he was also a kind of calm, measured person, and so a bit of a role model growing up. I think another part of it is also just when you go through some stuff, you learn poise. And I'm someone who's been through some things. I think we all have in many ways, and so I've learned that poise over time. And the weed certainly helps with it. As far as mindful practices and self-care, I think I might be terrible at that.
No way.
Yeah.
You're just natural.
But
Love
maybe
that.
you're in nature a lot.
Are you BC boys?
You're
though?
not even in Nelson.
Do you do hikes?
No, so I
Trails?
played sports for a lot of years, and
Fucker.
and kind of racked up a lot of sports injuries, and got to the point where my body was just breaking down. And so now I'm in my period where I'm healing and rehabbing and all that kind of stuff, and I'm doing this all with the goal of getting back to being a very active individual, and being that old man athlete that you see every once in a while.
Dope.
So like health was definitely something that's super important to me, and not just for like training and competing, but also just longevity and not having heartburn and things like that. But,
Not having heartburn.
Yeah.
Do you eat and drink at the same time?
Sometimes.
Me
I just
too.
inhale it all.
It's so delightful to do that.
It's
And
just a habit,
we
boys.
had Art on the show that told us that's not no bueno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should
But-
eat by yourself, no drinking.
Eat by yourself. I'm gonna go in the corner now and eat. Sorry, Walker.
No worries. I was just gonna say, like, almost all of my work happens either on location, things not necessarily like this, but out in stores and whatnot, or behind a laptop. And so much of it is behind a laptop and remote that I work from home a lot. And I am admittedly someone who can go like 3-4 days without leaving the house.
Me too. It's bizarre.
You guys.
It's weird, bro. I know. You get into like a weird fucking
Do you get
time
hyper
lapse.
focused? Do you get hyper focused, or do you chill and you just don't need to leave?
It's a little bit of both. I think there's something really special about the opportunity of Woody Nelson. This is
You guys can smoke if you want.
Yeah, smoke.
Okay.
Opportunity of Woody Nelson.
Yeah, like Woody Nelson is the first time that I've been part of a team and in a role where I get to create something that influences an industry and making products that people care about. Like we launched a CBD oil in BC that like dropped the average price of CBD products dramatically.
Let's go.
And we're like, hell yeah.
Fuck yes.
So this is a really kind of special opportunity for me and one that could define my career. And I love the people that I work with, and I love the market that we serve. So this is one of those things that's really easy to put everything I have into it. And so it's very easy for me to wake up and start working and just keep going until the end of the day, and to do that 7 days a week. And regrettably, I do not take care of myself as well as I could.
Bro.
You gotta take care of yourself, bro. You gotta take care of yourself first, so you
drink.
take care of those
Yeah, drink some of this water.
Have some of this water. Start right now. We're gonna be on you, bro. I'm gonna be texting you. I have your number now.
I had an entire bottle of water before I came in here.
That's amazing. Good job.
Actually,
You gotta
I am
meditate
good.
in the morning. You gotta help them stay on this.
Yeah.
Meditate. Go work out.
I am good at staying hydrated. I am a hydro homie.
Okay, great.
Good.
Hydro.
Hydro homie. I love that. Smoking that
Do
hydro
you have a mission statement for your life?
One step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other.
That's a
Nice.
good one. That's a
Yeah.
good one to live by.
I've been thinking about mission statements lately because I
help.
don't know. I guess as I get older, I'm like, oh, if it's true that we're just like meaning making machines, then I can create my own purpose and I can be really satisfied in that. But then what am I creating? Like, what's my purpose? And I feel like I've been kind of like working on my own mission statement. And so now I'm curious if other people are.
Well, I don't know if
I'm glad it's so-
this must be a quote from some famous person, but I saw it written on like a bathroom mirror in some nice cafe. But it said the meaning of life is to discover your gift, and the gift of life is to give it away, or something like that.
Aww.
And it was kind of-
Until you die or something, yeah.
Until you die.
It was just emphasizing that like you are going to spend a significant period of your life discovering who you are and what your kind of purpose is. And once you do, you get to spend the rest of your life kind of giving that away.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't necessarily know if I've kind of found that core purpose. There's certainly things that are swimming around in my mind, but I also know that some of those ideas and dreams are bigger than what my story may be. And so I try and keep myself in check and be realistic, but we're all the hero of our own story, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're big encouragers of dreaming beyond current belief systems. So like, it's because at least you'll get somewhere. If you believe you can get here, but you're like, no, fuck it, I'm going for this. Like, you're for sure gonna break your ceiling.
I often say, shoot for the stars, land on the moon.
on the moon, yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. I think I've never heard it that way, and I like that too. I've heard shoot for the moon, land in the stars or something.
Well, that never really made sense. Like, that might actually be the proper expression, but it didn't make sense because the moon's so close.
A star is just smaller, but it's because it's actually further away.
Bravo.
So
You
shoot
for the moon, you probably just land back on Earth.
Hey, do you have any weird beliefs about the moon?
Do you think
Do you
it's a
believe-
space
yeah.
station? Is there any part
Do
of
you
you that
believe it
thinks
was
there's
man-made?
a reptilian race overseeing, or there's like maybe spaceships that pull into the moon to check in before they visit Earth? I don't know. Is there anything?
You want-
It's a projection. It's
Want to
fake.
hear some funny shit around reptile people?
Yes,
Yeah.
so much.
But the moon wasn't always here. It was given. Anyway.
So one of my dad's oldest friends is someone that I consider a friend, and when I'm in Vancouver, I do like meeting up with him for coffee and whatnot. And COVID exposed a lot of alternative thinking.
Yeah.
and I was
Well put.
I was out for lunch with him, and we were talking about some financial fugazi that was going on in the economy, and I jokingly referred to the cabal And he kind of raised an eyebrow. He's like, you know about the cabal. And in my head, I'm like, oh my, where are we going to go with this?
What'd you unlock?
And so he started talking to me about lizard people and the reptile people having taken over the Vatican and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, really? And he's like, dude, I got like all the evidence. And he started laying it out for me. And like, of course, I'm a skeptical person, but there were a couple things that really did stand out where I don't think that it's evidence that reptile people are running the Vatican, but things that are legitimately like, hey, that building totally looks like the head of a snake. Or, hey, if you take this picture from a very specific angle, that really weird-ass statue looks like a snake or something like that. And it's very easy to see how people's minds are being twisted up because, like, you want to kind of discover the truth that has been hidden behind all the deception. And we're so hungry for that discovery that, sometimes we're willing to make that leap into something that isn't quite there.
Totally. I watch shows about aliens on YouTube and I eat it up. I'm just like, oh yeah. And it's always like a guy that like looks too sweaty and like has some type of accolade within some,
I was a consultant for
history or
NASA
something.
in 1976 to 1981, and the things I seen I
Yeah.
could not disclose until recently.
Yes, exactly.
These two agents.
And I believe him.
These two
I
agents
believe
showed
him.
up to my home, came in my backyard, and they said, "You will never talk to anybody about this again."
So yes or no, are aliens currently visiting Earth?
We are aliens.
Yes.
They've been here before. The pyramids are built by aliens. Everything's very easily said that we are children of the Anunnaki. We are just slaves, half god,
You know what
half
I like to think about?
humanoid.
I like to think, because it kind of boggles my brain, I like to think about everything happening on Earth, but like in different dimensions.
Yeah.
So like, let's say we're in the third dimension, us, all of this reality as we know
Matter.
it. Okay. And then on like dimension 4, when you're able to tune in more with a type of sense, I guess, maybe thought, it's like things change. It's not this anymore. It's like a whole different thing. And there's like beings there that are doing their shit on that. And like that goes up dimensions, like, and it's all just happening right here, but it's all invisible to us because of the way that we perceive.
What if I told you that you are a fourth dimensional being?
I would
You
say
are
I am.
as well.
Yeah.
We all are. One whole being is on all dimensions.
May I try and explain that?
Yes,
Yeah.
go.
Okay, so this is something that's kind of just, I spend a lot of time thinking about random things like this.
I love it.
This is what we were talking about.
So I think the first dimension would be translation along a line. The second dimension within a grid, and so you have kind of a 2-dimension, like a piece of paper. Third dimension is like a cube, so now you have a 3-dimensional physical object.
Yeah.
Fourth dimension is time. And so we, as individuals, we aren't necessarily, the skin and bones and, the physical parts of us because, well, there's a lot of exchange. Like there's a lot of renewal of our cells. There's a lot of
Linear.
exchange between us and the environment with our food and everything else. Like we, as a molecular creature, are not exactly consistent. But we, as a person, that's where the consistency is. And that exists over time, not in an exact moment.
Whoa.
That was fucking amazing. Just blew my mind. That's a clip. I
That's
fuck with
like
that.
hard for me to grasp.
But he's going at it from the perspective of like, what is that other element? What is the evolving thought?
Yeah.
Where does that exist? And yeah, basically, if you could shed your body, you could still observe that from an energy perspective, I guess.
Theoretically, like you could take what
Is
you-
that a spirit? Is
Possibly.
that blob of energy that is our personality without the body?
Consciousness?
Do we just zap back into all consciousness like this, or do we get to hold on to like our point of preferences?
I find that a lot of time we talk about things like spirituality. We are grasping at metaphysical things that are real, but not necessarily physically real.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this for millennia.
The idea of.
And so like we understand that these things are there. We just don't necessarily understand how to kind of access and talk about them, at least in a scientific way. And that's why we kind of reach through religion and spirituality. But exactly to what you were saying, that kind of, if you were just look at who you are minus the physical part of it, the information side of that. You could call that your spirit.
I love that. You know, my favorite part about being here as a human is the manifesting, is taking the thought and the idea and then bring, much to like what you do and like what we do is like, and then you hold that energy in place, and then that really is fun to just like rinse and create. And then the idea that like Earth is like an energy school to like learn how to manifest and like channel your thoughts and like bring something that serves hopefully to life. That's fun. That's just so fun. You're like, and then it becomes.
Just trying. It's just trial and error. That's
feel like
everything that we're doing. We're just playing around here.
Our physical one point of consciousness, like you mentioned time linearly, because you're right, this is not consistent. It's beautiful and similar, but it's not consistent. You age through time. You change through time. You evolve through time. I can get down with that. I almost feel like there are. You're right, no, because time would wear out the higher in dimensions. Like eighth dimension probably doesn't observe time as acutely. It's not as affected by it. The movement of it.
Speaking of time, I'm having a good time.
Yo, fucking facts. Yeah, I crushed that one, eh?
Yeah.
I've been like a rolling factory.
This high is fantastic. I feel pretty. I can understand why this would be like suitable to sit down and watch a movie for, but like in this environment, I'm feeling just like nice and focused and
It's not a heavy purple.
present in conversation. I don't feel like I'm like wandering off too far, although I know we did. You know what? We never finished. We never got back to why you went into cannabis.
Right. So working at RBC. I had a really hard time working within such a conventional and traditional system where this is how things are done.
Pardon me.
This is how things have been done. Keep doing things this way. And for me, it was very much about seeing problems, introducing new solutions, and problem solving, a lot of that kind of stuff. And I realized that my skill set would be probably better fit towards a startup and one in an industry that hadn't really been defined. And I had written a paper in I think it was a corporate law class back in university, advocating for, not necessarily advocating, but it was a pretty cool experience. The professor said 50% of your grade. Shout out to Dr. Law.
Dr. Law.
Yeah. Incredible economics
That's a
professor.
cool name.
Yeah.
Dr. Law?
Yeah.
Is he a superhero?
Yeah.
I'm Dr.
Or
Law.
at least a wrestler.
He was a great professor. Anyway, he gave us the opportunity to write this paper on anything we wanted, as long as we could create like a cohesive argument. And so it was an analysis of the legalities around cannabis and why it made more sense to legalize than to keep it prohibited. And when I started digging into the research, I realized that there was a lot of really valid research that had already been done by like top-level universities, Ivy League universities, that showed the cost of criminalization of cannabis and showed it's like, hey, you could spend this many billions of dollars criminalizing the drug, or you can make this many dollars legalizing the drug through taxation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I was able to kind of put this all together, and it gave me a really strong understanding of the regulations, where things were headed. And so,
Walker, what are they going to do with these prisons?
Yeah.
The facilities have been built. You're fucking up my flow of people, Walker. Can't stop the flow of people to people in power, man. Cabal built prisons, man.
The private prison industry is something that is not cool. Those who are listening.
Does that happen in Canada?
Private prison?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar.
Do
I don't
people
know
go
if
to
it does.
trafficking? No.
I know private prisons
Is there
happen
no benefit?
all over America because they're money
Well,
makers.
it's
right?
a big deal.
I'm just
Yeah.
talking shit.
No,
Sorry,
it's all good.
I interrupted you. But that's
Okay.
amazing that you wrote that paper and that you were thinking like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You already had a virtue towards.
It gave me an understanding, and having grown up around it, and I thought of it not necessarily as an opportunity to make a lot of money, but an opportunity to be a part of something that was meaningful to me and that I could be meaningful to. And I remember reaching out to Terry Booth, or whoever the CEO of Aurora was, one of my first reach outs, and said, hey, I'm looking for a job. He's like, meh. I'm very happy that's how that played out.
Nice. Congratulations.
Not to say that
Yes.
Aurora isn't, a nice company and doing cool things, but my path was a little bit different. I just saw an opportunity that I wanted to be a part of, and I started reaching out to different folks who were working in the industry, and I ended up working with Village Bloom, a small retailer out of BC, and who had won some awards for being a great dispensary, and learned a lot. Worked my first 6 months as a bud tender, also doing other things behind the scenes, but working as a bud tender was a big priority for me, because learning while you do, having those conversations, that's I think one of my greatest assets when it comes to sales, marketing, product development, customer service. It's just, it's easy for me to understand the mindset of a retailer, and we still maintain a lot of relationships with retailers, so that when we have questions about, like, if we're designing a new product and not quite sure about the price point, we reach out to our friends in retail, say, what do you think? And they give us honest feedback, and we adjust accordingly. And it's part of our secret sauce.
That is so beautiful.
You seem like a smart guy.
That's the heart right there, though, too. It's like good ideas come from the heart, and then you execute simply. Wow. Well done. So you did bud tending for like 6 months?
Somewhere around there, and I'd still jump behind the counter
huge.
when I could help out and things like that. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. That's so important. It's easy to like call shots for an industry or market, from like an ivory tower of an office, but it's like when you've actually put in the time to put in the grind, that's undeniable. That's good though. You leverage it. It's value. You know how to communicate. You know what the priorities are, and then your biggest partner in like getting a product to people. That's so smart. Sorry, no, you.
One of the strangest disconnects I've seen in this industry that I don't think you'll see in a lot of other industries, certainly not alcohol, is you have a lot of decision makers, in that executive suite, who don't purchase cannabis from the stores that your customers do.
Let alone worked in them.
And so you have the growers typically will have their own supply. Maybe they got their 4 plants at home, they got some friends, whatever the case may be. It's very rare that they're going into a store and shopping. The C-suite, I've seen a lot of them just think like, no, that's not exactly for me. If I'm going to get anything, I'm going to order it from ocs.ca or something like that, and or have someone else come grab it for me, or plenty of them don't even consume. And so a lot of these decisions around price and value and quality and distribution being made by people who are so unfamiliar with that purchasing dynamic and the price points and the competition and the conversation, and a lot of them tend to be a little bit more affluent, whereas your average consumer is on the opposite end of that spectrum.
True.
Exists this tremendous disconnect, and I think that a big part of how we found success is bridging that gap and constantly talking to the consumers and bringing in feedback from our team and asking our team to bring in feedback from the stores and everyone else.
What a beautiful way to cover up an unnecessary blind spot. Like, you have access to the information. Like, like when the other folks are operating from those points where they don't understand, you're right, you pointed out weaknesses, even though they look like blessings in life, like being more affluent, but it's like you don't understand. That's cool.
Well, we all fight our own battles, and sometimes there's feelings of jealousy or resentment towards people who have more than you. Especially when it's more money at a time like this. But you also realize that these people have their own challenges, and that affluence. Sometimes when your life has a lack of adversity, you find your own adversity. And when you go looking for your own adversity, sometimes you end up with drug problems and like all this other stuff. You search for boundaries, and when you have a large bank account, your boundaries don't necessarily exist where other people's do. And I've realized that a lot of people that I might have been, felt mean towards at one point in my life. When I get to know them, I'm just like, man, you're struggling just like everyone else. You got your own battles.
Yeah.
It's the human condition. It's like even the happiest person is balanced, half, 50-50. How are you? All right. Like, good. Like, always blessed to be here. Like, start with that gratitude. But, like, yeah, it's like, I think I've seen the most happiness in probably the poorest places I've traveled through. And I was like a privileged artist there on some fly shit, but like Jakarta, like Indonesia, or like driving through to city to city in like Indonesia. I'm like, that's when slippers look like that, because that's your only pair of slippers, and you have a permanent smile on. This is fucking with me, and like my shit is like I could only pack 2 pairs of shoes. Like it checked you. It's not about that. It's about the gratitude towards what you have. And as you said, we have these animal-like functions to like explore the dark side of life or something, or let anxiety win, or become more reactive, or expect more so we get disappointed and then we can react to that. And it's like, what the fuck? I feel like there's no escaping it.
Well, it's our programming, and a lot of people don't necessarily understand this, but we have evolved over many, many years. And we have like this primal animal brain that is, the reptile brain.
So we are reptilian.
Fight. You got fight, you got flight, and you got fornicate, and that's the basic instinct, and it's
fight, fucking eat.
Yeah.
It's like, and then sleep a little bit.
Well, and like this is why, like with certain reptiles, you'll see them eat their young by accident
At the airport.
Like, but there was evolution along the way, and the species recognized that there was a benefit to kind of taking care of your young, and then we have mammals, and now we have like mammals with periods where the baby can't kind of make it on its own, and anyway, I'm gonna go on a long time with that.
I like evolution.
Yeah, well, I guess maybe I should finish it. The last part of it, because you got the mammal brain. The mammal brain runs on emotion, and so emotion is something that's a huge driver for all of us.
Yeah.
And but that's not necessarily our highest function, because you have the neocortex on top of that. The neocortex is something. The development of the neocortex is what makes humans somewhat unique. And if I understand correctly, neocortex is something that you'll find in like dolphins and other primates, but is something that allows logic and art and speech and all these things that like really make us human. And so at all times, there's this like internal battle within our brain functions of like these different priorities.
Fuck.
Do you think that we'll evolve that eventually?
Yeah, and I haven't thought about this, but I think it's an extremely interesting topic. Where does humanity's evolution go from here? Because I think if it was a strictly biological evolution, you wait another few 100,000 years and maybe we develop a new layer to that brain. But we are now so close with technology and on the precipice of very significant cybernetics. And who's to say that AI is not the evolution of humanity?
I completely agree.
Can we
It might
upload our
not be,
consciousness?
but it could be also.
I don't think that it's possible to upload one's consciousness. I do think it will be possible, perhaps within our lifetime, to copy your consciousness and upload that copy.
Yes, you can exist as a member of a society as the option choices as far as your free will can take it now. As far as you consider this life like a
Gives me the willies.
like biological simulation, it's like you're not that original. Like you're basically kind of one of a archetype. There's like only so many manifestations of humanoids that are like archetypes. Like we probably share an archetype. Like, and then you're plus these 2 other archetypes and I'm plus these 2 other archetypes and I'm a blend of these 3.
Sure.
I feel like humans, our free will is so circumstantially based on the options presented. At any given time, it's like, what even makes a personality that unique? It's just the joy we get out of choosing.
Well, it's said that, everything that we do is a result of either nature or nurture. That there's no mention of free will there.
Yeah.
That gets into it. That's an interesting
where your choice is coming from. Yeah. And then hacking that through self-awareness, I think, is the most leading edge things humans are doing these days. Like when you see someone take control of their life, someone just like looks mad healthy, and they're just like, fuck that.
But that's also
shit.
just a result of lack of nurture, most likely.
Oh.
Right? Like you can probably
So they
like
overcompensate.
simplify it down pretty easily.
What's your balance point?
I wanted to ask you, what's something that you know now that you would have benefited from knowing when you started at Woody Nelson that you didn't know then?
Other than the reptile people.
I think if I had an understanding of the state of the industry at this point, I would have been able to make some better decisions along the way. Just understanding that capital would be all but non-existent or all but inaccessible.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to.
No, it's all good. Like, I think that everybody's pretty familiar with it right now, but the capital markets for cannabis for the last several years have been rather barren, and perhaps for good reason. When you look at how many kind of questionable companies there were, and everyone's kind of telling the same story of invest in us, we're gonna grow a bunch of weed and make you billions of dollars. And so, had I understood how that was going to play out, and I did have a general understanding, there's something called the Gartner hype cycle, which shows that, there's certain milestones along this curve that show there's going to be a bunch of hype, and people are going to be all excited and think that this is going to be the best thing since sliced cheese or the wheel or sliced whatever.
Like
bread.
energy.
I think bread is
The sliced bread wheel.
Sliced cheese.
Yeah. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Where were we?
The investors, and it's how the hype wheel comes around.
Right, the Gartner hype cycle. And so we understood that we were going to enter what's called the trough of disillusionment, which is where you're like, oh, dear God, what have I done? And so if you have a better idea of where that trough of disillusionment actually is, you can plan your resources a little bit better and things like that. And just kind of having a general understanding of how competitive the market would be, because there's literally hundreds of brands out there competing for the customers' dollars, and that's really rare. That's not something that you see in your typical alcohol market. It's not something that you see when you go to your grocery store. You're looking for garbage bags or air fresheners or whatever. You're usually picking from like just a handful of options, and here you're fighting tooth and nail for shelf space because everyone else is doing the same.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that I would have not jumped in both feet first. I still would have done it, probably head first. But I certainly would have made some better decisions along the way.
Yeah. What do you think about this influx of products, especially like, I don't know how it is in BC, but like the OCS 2 years ago had less than 500 products, and they're up to like over 3K now, I think. So it's
so much
really,
to choose from.
Yeah,
it's intense.
Is that just going to become the norm? Does that get bigger? Does that plateau ever?
I do think it plateaus. I think that part of that is the OCS trying to do right by the LPs, because they had so many LPs applying, asking for SKUs, and they only had so many SKUs they could offer. And so a lot of people would hear no far more often than they would hear yes. And when you're like half your business relies on getting into the Ontario market, I think the OCS felt bad. It's like, you know what, we don't want to be like the reason why you couldn't like get your business off the ground. We don't have the warehouse capacity to carry like thousands and thousands of SKUs, so we're going to create a flow-through program.
Right. So
at least that way there's a way for you to access the market. And if your product does as well as you say it will, then we'll bring you into central delivery and all that other great stuff. And
that's nice.
Easy to see both sides on that one.
No shade to the OCS at all, but you're probably the only guest who has painted them in like a lovely light.
Yeah.
Nothing but, yeah.
So I've had a lot of interactions with the OCS, and I can't say that any of them were negative. And that's not to say like we've gotten every SKU that we've ever asked for, or that everything's been easy. But it's to say that everyone that I've talked to over there and dealt with has been like a normal human being that like wants to do their job well, is trying hard to help the people, like their clients, us, and it's been really easy to work with them. And I think perhaps part of it is just how we approach it. We approach it as they are a gigantic organization, the larger buyer of cannabis in the world. They are in a relatively new industry where it's chaos, and they are trying to run the logistics of like the largest cannabis warehouse in the world. So a little bit of empathy from us, I think, goes a long way there. And that's not to say that they don't make mistakes. It's just we also understand that we make mistakes and they forgive us and they want to continue working with us. So the least that we could do is kind of match that same energy.
That is so beautiful. What a good attitude. You could just put that attitude on any relationship you have in life.
Well, that's your poise coming through, obviously. Everything that you've experienced up until this point has created a very nice young gentleman.
Beautiful.
No, why thank you.
Fuck, well, this has been so good.
What a nice hang. We
What
did
a
exactly
fun
that
hang.
thing. We said we're going to
Yeah.
smoke a bunch of
It's
weed and
felt-
just have a nice combo.
It did really just feel like a sesh. It happens less here, but a lot at our home. Often we like forget that we're doing a podcast because we're just like seshing. And
Yeah.
I got that feeling today.
I felt that here.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Is there anything you want to tell the people before we
Leave us with
say adieu?
Any wisdom?
People like to know about like new drops and stuff, right?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
So the OCS started us off with just a few products. Wanted to see how we would do before they gave us more SKUs. We're like, all right, no problem.
Nice.
And so this summer is where a bunch of those new SKUs really start to show up.
What?
July, I think people are going to be really excited for the Rainbow Driver ounces to finally show up.
Oh, yeah, we are going to be really excited for that.
Very excited. Gonna get one of those.
Yeah, we will have our Purple God in the 3.5 gram, what we've just smoked, showing up on June 6th, alongside the new Flight 525, which is a rotating pack of pre-rolls. So you'll
cool.
have 5 Purple God pre-rolls in there. These are ones that we're now making in-house, so that's pretty cool. And
Make them in
Congrats.
your house?
sorry,
You make them in your house?
make them at home, then bring them to the shop. No, I'm just
Sick.
joking. That's not compliant.
That's cool.
We have our one-to-one vape from the Lo-Fi brand. Oh yeah, a lot of people don't know that Woody Nelson is also Lo-Fi. Lo-Fi was just the brand that we kind of patched together while we were building the Woody Nelson facility. And so anyway, Lo-Fi is now making waves in Ontario. Our CBD oil 1500 is being picked up at a lot of spots, but now we got more products coming to market. Our Nostalgia hemp flower is some beautiful craft hemp from Terroir Craft Flower Farms. Shout out to Greg Christie. He's one of the coolest hemp farmers I've ever met, one of the coolest growers I've ever met. Just happens to grow hemp. And so you got like 20% CBD, 1% THC with a beautiful nose on it. So
nice.
yeah, for us to be able to introduce that that kind of CBD flower, and it actually says infused, but this is more like infused. And there's a pretty good story behind that that mostly results in us paying 60 cents in tax instead of $7 in tax, which allows us to pass on those savings to the consumer. Yeah, so anyway, that's another cool one. We have, what else is coming up? We have our 33 splitter showing up this summer. So that's our newest genetic. That's, I think, got harvested this week. So we're going to cure it for a few weeks. Then we got to
Send
pack it up.
some to Discipline Son.
Yeah. But then we're packing it up, and I think the first batch is going out to the OCS. And yeah, we got probably plenty more on the way, but I think that's enough
Those
plugging
are
for
good,
now.
yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for spending the time.
Anytime.
Yeah, man. Thanks
Yeah.
for hanging. I did roll this other joint, though, now. So we'll just have to smoke it anyway.
We can
Love. Okay, thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
That was fucking awesome. Love. I'm high as shit. Subscribe, tell a friend, subscribe to my OnlyFans, send nudes to everyone that you can, and make sure to follow us on Instagram and call your dad.
Peace.
Flirty when you put on the outfit and you go down with that shit to make me get aroused quick. Yeah, get around if I'm allowed to talk to the maid. Hold on, you're the maid. You doing what I say. There's post-it on the frame. Every time you look up and you say, what should I do today? I think I'll have these post-it notes to let me know, just so you think I'm dope when you come home and you deep throat. Jeez though, that was kinda naughty, talking naughty hints into the audience. I'm probably lit all of the time if you go around it, and I get around it like a cul-de-sac. Fucking clean this house before I get back. We gonna clean this house tonight.
So high in here, so high in.
Smell good though. Got got a little trigger low key with the vape. Every place that I go, even the airplane. Don't need no flame so they can't complain. Terps to the brain, man, this tastes insane. Extract like this and you get the best terps. Easy when I let it out underneath my sweatshirt. Left the medicine to the experts. Honey badger shatter stick is what I hit first. Those diamonds looking like glaciers. Golden purple looking like Lakers. Looking for the right time to hit my piece. Great box train, help me find my piece. Full spectrum, live resin. We got the best that we dabbing. Check, they got a lot on the menu that I'm seeing. Granddaddy Perp, Kush, Minch, Jack Diesel. Little pen is always up my sleeve and I'm breezing. You'll see me when I'm up on the dance floor. I'll take a hit, then I dance some more. You wanna move, I got just the juice, so come and get a sneaky boost. D-wax, quad plant extracts, oh yeah, baby, that's the tools.
We said we're getting high in here, puffing on honey badger. I got my shadow stick, I'm about to get my vape on. We're getting high in here, puffing on honey badger. I got my shadow stick, I'm about to get my vape